And we are live for another UFC breakdown. This week, it's UFC Seattle. And if you can't tell, BP is not with us tonight. Unfortunately, about 30 minutes ago before the show, I got a text from BP, and he said he's having a family emergency and he wouldn't be able to make the show. So I'm going to run this one solo. I just couldn't really put together, a guest to come on 30 minutes before the show. I was kind of debating, should I push it off? Should I try to maybe wait till tomorrow, see if BP could do it tomorrow or Friday? Do I just cancel the show altogether? So I had the last 30 minutes, I've been really trying to figure out what am I going to do with the BigJive MMA show this week. Ultimately, I didn't want to postpone it because going through a family emergency for BP, I didn't want to put any pressure on him to try to make time to do the show over the next couple of days. And I didn't want to leave you guys hanging without a show this week. So we're running this one solo, boys. It's just me and you in the chat. I'm sure we're still going to have a great time. Make sure you send some love over to BP. Just let him know that you're thinking about him and that, give him some support, because I won't go into any details, but it's something that nobody really wants to deal with. So that's the announcements for the top of the show. I appreciate everyone joining tonight. We got a solid card for UFC Seattle. I'm not overly, hyped for it, but it's a fight night with a great main event. There's some solid fights on the main card. Prelims are solid as well. We're going to go over all the fights. We'll recap how last week went at UFC London, which it went pretty decent. Some people hit their Sicko parlays. Me, I did. We'll recap that, and then we'll get into this week's Empty the Clip, 3-punch parlay, and the Sicko parlays. And we'll also announce the contest giveaway this week for 3-punch combo, which is pretty exciting because, for one, somebody won the $1,000. Somebody picked the perfect card on UFC London. They got paid. And 3PC says, we're not scared. We're going to make another competition, a little more contest with this one. It's not $1,000, but it is pretty exciting. So stay tuned for that. I'll hit the chats and then we can hop into this. I know there was a lot of people in the chat already before the show. I appreciate everyone showing up early. That was honestly part of the reason why I decided to just do the show. I was maybe just going to cancel it altogether, but I saw people in the chat early before the show even started. So I said, I can't let them down. I got to show up. The show must go on. Dixon always in the chat. What's going on, brother? BP's photo makes me want to tuck him into bed and read him bedtime stories. How you guys like the thumbnail, eh? Looking pretty good. We're out in Seattle. We got our raincoats on. We're looking good. What up, Lunatic? How we doing? What up, Trin Daddy? How we doing, brother? Also, if you're watching on BP's channel, obviously BP's not here, but people usually tune into his channel as well for the BigJive MMA show, so I'm streaming it there as well. For some reason, the thumbnail on BP's channel was not popping up, so it was like just his profile picture or something. It would look weird, but how we doing tonight, fellas? 3PC boys, how we doing? Let's get BP on BYM or a boxing match versus Harrington. There you go. BP dressed like Georgie. Yeah, the kid that loses his paper boat down the drain and gets, it kind of does. It looks exactly like it. 10-3 last week. Shaquem, Losine, and Curtis. Those were all the popular plays that did not come through. Lunatic just grinding the work week. Making that dollar. Looking forward to the fights as always. Best wishes to BP. Yeah, unfortunately, life happens, brother. Life happens. Show some love to BP. One and dud. Love the BP. Broke my L streak, and I'm so ready for this card. I broke my L streak, too. I didn't break my L streak on the Empty the Clip. We'll go over that. But I broke my L streak. Hope BP's good, brother. He's good. You're just dealing with family stuff. It's not fun. It's 2026. How do you not have a hologram of BP with all of his plays? I just saw a lady on the news marry a hologram. So surely We can have one that picks fights and doesn't need to satisfy a woman. Hey, maybe in a few years, we will have a full AI podcast. Who knows? Let's get this money, baby. Let's get this money. Silly Gilly Goose MMA Show. Shout out to them boys. Got the 1K. We'll go over that. Silly Gilly, the legend. Silly Gilly paying for the dinner. Let's look at the rankings or the leaders from last week. Actually, not that one. There we go. Silly Gilly Goose MMA Show went 13-0 last week on 3-punch combo fight picks. Won the $1,000 perfect card. That means he picked Nathaniel Wood, underdog. Danny Silva, underdog. Were there any other underdogs? I don't think so. Were there any other underdogs? Those are two tough dogs to get, though. Like, you could see them winning, right? But to actually go out and pick them is quite impressive. And then to not only do that, but you get all the pick 'em fights right. Abdul Karim El Sawadi, Mason Jones, Axel Sola. Other than that, it was a lot of chalk. But those were tough picks. So shout out to Silly Gilly Goose MMA Show for getting the 13-0 and winning that $1,000 for picking the full card on 3-punch combo. Let's make it rain, baby. Let's make it rain in Seattle. Let's get it. Started watching you almost 3 weeks ago. I make this part of my weekly Wednesday routine now. Well, I'm glad you say that because I was very close to just canceling the show. But I got to be out here for the people. I got a duty to the people to get this show out to you, even if it is a little bit less entertaining because BP's not here. But we're doing it anyway. I got to spit my Zin out. I usually have a little bit of a break because BP will talk and I can really, enjoy my Zin. But when I'm just talking, when it's just me, can't really do that. The Zin doesn't really work. So let's recap how last week went. BP got his Empty the Clip to go through. Shout out to BP with the 4-4 record now. He said he wasn't going to lose again. And I don't think he has lost many since then. So he got it done.
Tell him to bring me my money.
Yeah. BP for the Empty the Clip. Personally, my Empty the Clips have been absolutely terrible. Boys.
Mission failed. We'll get him next time.
Boys, my Empty the Clips have not hit since Kyoji Horiguchi fought Amir Albazi. That's 5 in a row on the Empty the Clips that have not gone through. So if you're fading the Empty the Clips, my Empty the Clips, you're looking pretty good right now. The problem is you're probably not because they seem like they should hit, right? They seem like they should hit, but they haven't. They haven't been hitting. So you might want to start fading the Empty the Clip because it might be the worst bet in the entire space. Over 2.5 rounds, look pretty good. Curtis Campbell, never been finished. Obviously, he's undefeated. Danny Silva, never been finished. Danny Silva has been to a bunch of decisions. He goes out there and knocks him out in round 2. What are you going to do? The 3-punch parlay. BP got his leg to go through. I got my leg to go through. And we tried to give Fatima Klein an opportunity to redeem herself, but she couldn't do it. She went with Michael Aswell Jr., the underdog. And there goes another 3-punch parlay. So the 3PC parlay is down 1.78 units. We're 2-6. But we got Silly Gilly Goose MMA Show coming in after going 13-0 last week. We got a leg from him. I got all the stuff for BP. I got BP's Empty the Clip. I got BP's leg in the 3-punch parlay. I got BP's Sicko parlay. I'll still give that to you guys. Whether he wants me to or not, I'm doing it. I'm sure he would have no problem with me doing that, but I'm sure you guys are probably looking forward to that towards the end of the show. But last week, BP hit on MVP. I got Evloev, and then Fatima Klein screwed us in the co-main event. BP's Sicko parlay was an L. Dead on arrival. Shamrock did not look good. 30-27 L. Did get the Mason Jones money line, but overall, an L there. for BP on the Sicko parlay, but he's still up on the year. And then my Sicko parlay came through. Did anyone in the chat tail the Sicko parlay last week? I made a completely separate video on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook, or wherever you saw it. 3-leg decision parlay. Mason Jones battles back. One of the judges gave him 30-27. I thought he lost the first round. But either way, he gets it done by decision. CLD, 2 rounds to 1. And then Movzar Evloev. We got a little bit lucky on that one, boys. All right. Technically, Evloev did win 3 rounds, at least 3 rounds. The point was questionable, but they still did take the point. I thought it was going to be a draw, which still we would have cashed it, but for a lot less of a payout. But we cashed it. Plus 1292 on the 3-leg decision parlay. That means the Sicko parlay on the year is up 5.92 units now after going 1-7. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a tease. I got a decision parlay again for you in the Sicko parlay this week. So let's catch another W on that one. And a little bit more of a tease. It pays more than plus 1292. All right. We're looking at 20-1 this week, boys. We're going bigger. We're going bigger for UFC Seattle. Let's go. Sicko was great tailed. So we did have some people tailing. There we go. I love that. I love that. Honestly, boys and girls, there might be some girls in the chat. When I say boys, I'm just referring to the chat. Okay. If you're a woman, you get offended by that, I'm sorry. But 98% of my viewers are men. If you're part of the 2%, I appreciate you for being here, but I'm going to call the chat boys. If you are the more that I put plays out, right? And I make money on the plays, I actually get more excited when people tell me that they made money tailing my plays. I could care less how much money I make off of my bet, right? Like, it's fun. I get to enjoy it. But I get more fulfillment as a content creator that puts out bets if people are cashing with me, if they're making money. If I can get 10 plus people telling me that they tailed the bet, especially a big parlay like this, I mean, it makes me feel amazing. Makes me feel amazing. And then you look at the opposite, it's right. 10 plus people tail me and it loses, makes me feel really bad. But when we win, and there's a lot of people tailing, makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm helping y'all out, because that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do. Even if somebody thinks I'm a sports book, I'm paid by the books or whatever, and I'm coming in here trying to give you losing bets. Not the case, all right? If that was the case, I'd be making a lot more money than I do, okay? If I was getting paid by the books, I'd be living in a mansion because they'd probably be paying me a lot of money. But I'm not, okay? So shout out to anyone that tailed and made some coin. Blind Muck got it. Tailed. Let's go. Let's go. Thoughts on Brian Battle being plus 270 this weekend? I got to do my research for PFL. I haven't done any yet, but plus 270 is interesting. I don't know. I got to look at it. It must be 5 rounds, right? It's a main event. We'll see. You did need it. Yeah, I guess I would have wondered, if you went 12-0-1, if it was a draw, if they still would have paid it. Maybe not. Tailed the many men as well. I just missed the 20x DFS. I think I took a small bump. It's tough, but at least you hit the other ones. Shout out to you. That's the right mindset. I'm always happiest when the whole crew eats. Exactly. Can't believe Battle is fighting. You know what I'm saying? Dude, I listened to an interview and he said, you know what I'm saying, like 30 times. Like every 5 seconds he was talking. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, I think we get what you're saying, Brian. All right, we get it. We get it. You don't got to ask every time. You don't got to ask, bro. Hey, Jive, how we doing, brother? Izzy and Macy decision. We'll get there. All right, boys, let's hop into the breakdown here. It's going to be a little bit different without BP, but we'll do our best. I'll give you my analysis, and then we'll check out the chat, see what the chat says about the fight. First fight of the night. We got Alexa Tinara taking on Bruna Brasil. Brazil comes in at plus 550. Alexa Tinara minus 750. Bruna coming off the loss to Katlyn Souza. If you recall the BigJive MMA show for that fight, I was pretty confident Katlyn Souza was going to win. What happened in that fight wasn't exactly what I thought was going to happen. Katlyn Souza went in there looking to clinch a ton. And she did win the fight, but every time that she wasn't in the clinch, she was kind of piecing her up, but she was just content to be in the clinch. Honestly, not content. She was pushing to just clinch up with Bruna Brazil and look to take her down, which she couldn't really do, but that's not Katlyn Souza's game. So now she turns around, what was that, a month and a half ago, to face Alexa Tinara. Tinara got a nice W against Loma Lubunme in Perth last year. Pretty dominant win as a pretty sizable favorite. And this is a rematch dating back a long time ago where Bruna Brazil gave Alexa Tinara her only loss. Only loss of Tinara's career is a loss to Bruna Brazil by round 3 guillotine choke. And that's a fight you can watch on YouTube. So if you want to go check it out, you can watch it. It was an ugly fight. Disgusting fight, honestly. I mean, Tinara, what was the year of that? That had to be 5-6 years ago. But Tinara looked completely different in that fight. You could tell. There's just been leaps and bounds of improvement from Tinara since that fight. And that fight was back in 2019. So almost 7 years ago, 6.5 years ago. Tinara was what? 21 years old? There's a big difference between that first fight and this one. And when I look at it, I think the physicality of Tinara is just going to be way too much for Bruna Brazil. Really, the question is Alexa Tinara getting the finish? Because I'm pretty sure she's going to win. She should be able to get takedowns on Bruna Brazil. Bruna Brazil has been taken down by pretty much everybody that she's fought. And Tinara looks like she has, the wrestling, grappling to take down most of her opponents. On the feet, I honestly think Tinara is the more effective striker. It's not very pretty. It's aggressive, but she throws a lot out there. And Bruna Brazil just doesn't really throw much. So it's very clearly Tinara as the pick. Is there value on minus 750? I'm not a guy that's going to be laying minus 750 on a women's strawweight fight that I think is probably going to go to decision. But you do have to look at the props, and the props on this one, Tinara by decision is, minus money. I think it's minus 123 or minus 130. Yeah, minus 125. I do think she probably gets it done by decision, but I wouldn't rule out like a late sub, maybe a late sub or maybe an early sub, or maybe your early KO, because Bruna has been KO'd. This is a tough one to call, like exact method. I was maybe going to put Tinara decision in the Sicko parlay, but I went against it because maybe Tinara does get her out of there. I just think it's probably going to be one-way traffic. And in a one-way traffic women's strawweight fight where the girl that is running the traffic is going to be more physical and have a big grappling advantage, that's where you could maybe see some finishes. So maybe you take a little bit of a sprinkle, Tinara round 2, round 3 sub. But then you look back at that first fight and you're like, well, Bruna subbed her in the 3rd round. But I think Tinara's cardio is a lot different in this one compared to way back then. So, yeah, Bruna might get cut. She might get cut, but what she's got going for her is she's part of the Fighting Nerds, which nobody ever brings up because the Fighting Nerds are like one of the best, 4 combination of fighters in the UFC. Very popular gym, but Bruna Brazil's been a fight. She was a Fighting Nerd before Rufy, before Jean Silva. Like, she's been with the Fighting Nerds for a long time, and she's always sucked. But nobody brings it up because she's like the stepchild that nobody wants to claim, So Bruna Brazil is probably on her way to get cut, but she has the connection to the Fighting Nerds. She's clearly taking fights on short notice, which will keep you in the UFC. But I think Tinara probably runs through her. Tinara all the way. Should want to get this one back. Yeah, exactly. Tinara she was like 21, dude. She was like 21. On my BP shit, Bruna is kind of bad. She's fairly pretty. Yeah. Prettier than Tinara. That's for sure. 7 years. Yeah. Almost 7. 6. I think 6.5. Chat, we are going to need the people to hit the like button, boys. Come on now. Come on. Let's hit the like button. I'll get the little ticker down there. For UFC Seattle contest. There we go. We'll get the ticker there. Sprinkle sub and forget about it. The sub is sitting at what? Plus 215. Dude, honestly, I just don't even know if it's enough for me. I would want like 3-1. Don't think Bruna sucks. She's just too low output. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like she's just so disinterested. She's always running away. She never like puts combinations together. It's always like one punch and then run away. So she just can't really win many fights, man. She can't. You look at her wins and they're all against terrible competition. Shi Ming, Shauna Bannon, Molly McCann, like these are bad competition. Shout out Brian America. We do miss him. We do. Let's move on. We got a bantamweight bout here. Ricky Simone comes in at minus 140, taking on Adrian Yanez. It's an interesting one, boys. I got a little bit of a little heat for picking Adrian Yanez on my most recent picks video, the most confident picks video. I think it's a close fight. Yanez is coming in here off of a bit of a layoff. Last time he fought was Daniel Marcos, and that was back in, what was that? UFC Tampa 2024, end of 2024. He was supposed to fight last year against Quinones, and Quinones, how fucked up is this, right? Yanez was supposed to fight Christian Quinones. I think that was an Apex card. Yeah, that was an Apex card last year in November. Quinones pulls out. So Yanez he doesn't have a fight now because Quinones had to pull out. And what happened was Quinones then fought Chris Moutinho. So he's the one that pulled out of the fight. And then the UFC says, we'll put you on the Mexico card and we'll give you Chris Moutinho as a reward for pulling out. And what they gave Yanez was Ricky Simone in Ricky Simone's home region. How fucked up is that, right? Like, that's really fucked up. You should be giving Yanez Moutinho in Mexico and give Quinones Simone in his home region. But that's not the case. He's 32, 6-3 in the UFC. Hasn't fought any wrestlers really in the UFC, like zero. The only guy that did take him down was Daniel Marcos. And it doesn't age badly because Marcos went out there against Miles Johns, grappled him up and submitted him. So maybe Marcos's wrestling and grappling has really improved. He was more known as like a kickboxer. But, I mean, he took down Yanez a couple times, but didn't really do much with it. Yanez got right back up. So is Ricky Simone going to come in here and like just wrestle fuck him? Grapple fuck him? I don't really think so. I think Simone can get takedowns, but I don't think he can really do much with it. And also Simone fought Cam Smotherman last June at UFC Atlanta. Smotherman took that fight on short notice, and Yanez was in his corner. And Simone won 30-27, 29-28 on one judge's scorecard. But he went 3 of 10 on his takedown attempts, did have 9 minutes of control, but Smotherman's a guy that's like pretty easy to grapple. Pretty easy. Takedown defense isn't great. Doesn't really have good get-ups. He's not, he's not a very good scrambler or anything. He looked okay there against Smotherman, but I kind of expected more. And then his last fight against Barcelos, he didn't land a single takedown, but that's against Barcelos. I had a bet on Barcelos there. I thought Barcelos would be able to keep the fight standing, and I thought he'd be able to outpoint him to a decision, and he did. To me, Ricky Simone is kind of hit or miss. If he's landing his takedowns at ease, he looks all right, because then he can mix it in with his hands, and he's got some heavy hands. But I think against Yanez is striking. There's a lot of output. It's a lot of boxing. And if you're going to be in the guy's face, if you're going to be in Simone's face, throwing some fast hands, I think that's going to kind of mess with his entries a little bit. And then you look at him getting up. If Simone does land a takedown, I think Yanez can get back up. So then I think it's going to be a pretty competitive fight. And if it's going to be a competitive fight, I'd rather go with the guy that I think has higher output on the feet, faster hands, probably better cardio as well, and arguably better finishing upside with his hands as well. Like, I know Simone's got a big overhand right, but outside of that, what does he have? You know, he throws hard, but I don't think his boxing's really on the level of Yanez. So I think it's kind of dog or pass. I think it's dog. I said dog or pass. Dog or pass. Ricky, one of the guys that beat Merab. Yeah, you could hold on to that. You could hold on to that one all the way back in 2018, 18 years ago. You could hold on to that if you want. Ends in split decision, easy money. Don't pick a side. Okay, there you go. That's probably what, plus 400, 500, maybe 6. Izzy shows levels. Pyfer sucks. Okay. Hey, John, people forget Luke Riley was scheduled to fight Kevin Vallejo, but the fight got swapped. Yeah. Yeah, that is true. That is true. You know who else? What else fight was actually kind of weird that got swapped? Alexa Tinara was supposed to fight Fatima Klein on the Contender Series, but Klein got signed to the UFC. That would have been a fun fight. Can't wait to hear you butcher Bruno Lopez's name. Dude, I don't know if it's Lopez or Lopes. Some people say both. I don't know. I'm gonna say both. Either one. Yanez could have mopped the floor with Christian. Probably could have. Does sound wrong, but that's how Yanez says it. Yeah. Yeah. He made a point for people to call him Yanez instead of Yanez. So I'll respect it. I'll respect it. Tinara Klein would have been a banger. Absolutely. That was the right move. Klein was crushing the regionals. Yeah. I mean, she definitely didn't need to fight Tinara, but it would have been an interesting fight. All right, boys. Yanez or pass. Let's move on. Light heavyweight bout, Navajo Sterling, minus 650, taking on Bruno Lopez, whichever one you want to fucking say. All right. Don't get at me for the pronunciation. At the end of the day, do I really have to respect Bruno Lopez? Do I have to respect the way he pronounces his name when he's getting KO'd by a jab against Dustin Jacoby? No, I don't have to. Okay. But on the other side, we got Navajo Sterling, who needs a fucking KO, dude. All right. If you can't KO Bruno Lopez, you got a problem. We got a real problem here. Okay. Because Bruno Lopez's chin is just not good. It's not good at all. He's stuck in the mud. He's so slow on the feet that if Navajo can't knock this guy out, you might as well just fucking cut him, because then nobody's going to want to watch it, right? We watch light heavyweight bouts for guys to get knockouts. We watch these big boys, big athletic dudes. If you look at the light heavyweight division, there's some freak athletes in light heavyweight, because you're getting these guys that are 6'4", but they're also in shape, right? They should be in shape because they got to cut down to 205. And then you look at the heavyweights, they're kind of just light heavyweights that don't want to stick to a diet. So these guys are dialed in, good athletes. We want to see them, let bodies hit the floor. And Navajo Sterling hasn't knocked out Tugo Tokos, didn't knock out Ivan Urslan, didn't knock out Adolfo Bellato, but I kind of give him a pass for that one. Bellato's pretty tough. The thing is here, he's going to need a KO. If he doesn't get a KO, I mean, they're going to keep sticking him on the early prelims. But I think he should be able to. Bruno Lopez's game is kind of predicated on him lunging forward with big shots and then kind of going into the clinch and trying to take you down. So I could see a little counter right hand from Navajo dropping him, following it up with some ground and pound. He's definitely the clear favorite here. He's minus 650. I think he should be able to get it done in whatever way he wants. Bruno Lopez is not a terrible fighter, but I think this is a pretty poor matchup for him. I mean, I bet on him against Gagiazulov because Gagiazulov has zero pop in his hands. And he was probably going to be able to out-cardio him and out-grapple him, and he did. But then against Dustin Jacoby, Jacoby's just a much better striker than anybody Bruno Lopez has faced. And then you look at the Ribeiro fight, and it's like, well, if Ribeiro, who swings like a wild man, can knock him out, then Dustin Jacoby should be able to knock him out. So he did. And then you look at Navajo Sterling, who's also a seasoned kickboxer, young, athletic, solid takedown defense, good footwork from the outside, knows how to strike. Should be able to knock him out. The knockout on Navajo Sterling, though, is fucking minus 170. Minus 175? For a guy that doesn't have a UFC knockout, like, you can't be excited to lay that price, right? You can't be excited to lay the price, but it probably happens. Where is BP? We went over this at the beginning of the show, but he's got a family emergency, so he couldn't be on the show. What we need is another 3-leg decision parlay from you, brother. You will get it. You will get it at the end of the show on the Sicko parlay segment. I already got it locked in. Jacoby's no slouch, but Bruno's just too chinny. Absolutely. Can't trust Sterling to KO anyone at this point until he actually does it. Kind of, yeah. That's kind of what I'm thinking too. But that minus 170, that minus 175 on the KO might just look like the freest money ever. It might look like Iwo Baranowski against Austin Lane. Like, it might just look that fucking free. And then we're like, okay, yeah. Navajo, he's all right? Feels like such a trap spot, bro. Everyone's going to have Navajo decision in the overs, and he's going to sleep him in round one. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be betting Sterling. I can't bet Sterling decision. I can't do it. What is Sterling decision? Plus 450? Oh, God. Maybe I might have to. Might have to. It's a big number. He'll get his first finish. He should. Sterling should roll here. Agree with Mr. Jive. He really needs the KO. It's so surprising he started his UFC career with 3 straight decisions. Really thought he was going to be a finisher in the UFC. He's a patient striker, which is good. It's kind of impressive for how young he is in his career. But I feel like even if he's patient in this one, like, Lopez will give him his chin. He'll give him his chin. Sterling discards CLD. I don't know what that means. Discards him? Different weight class, bro. Oh, this card's CLD. Maybe. But the odds were completely different. Completely different. I mean, Dolidze had never been knocked out. Lopez has been knocked out twice. So, let's move on. Flyweight bout, we got Casey O'Neill coming in at minus 110, taking on Gabriela Fernandez, sitting at minus 110 as well. Fernandez comes in here 3-2 in the UFC on a 3-fight winning streak. She beat Carly Judice, Kong Wang, and Julia Stoliarenko. Casey O'Neill, last fight she won against Luana Santos. That was almost a year and a half ago. Maybe more. August of 2024. So she's been off for a while now. Again. And before that, she was off for 9 months. So she's definitely got some question marks about her, but she's been training in Thailand. She was at Fight Ready for that Luana Santos fight. Now she's at Thailand because Santino DeFranco is retired. So she's over at Thailand training at Bang Tao, which I think is good. I think it's good. The Hickman brothers in Thailand, they know what they're doing. And they're not just out there training Muay Thai because they're in Thailand. They're MMA coaches. And I think they can bring an MMA game plan in here to give Casey O'Neill her best chance to win. And what is her best chance to win? It would be to use some grappling here against Gabriela Fernandez. Do I have confidence that she's going to be able to pull off the grappling on Fernandez. Not that much confidence, because I don't think Casey O'Neill can match the physicality of Gabriela Fernandez. But the thing is, I don't think it really takes. She can't do it with her physicality. She's gonna have to do it with her skill set. I think Casey O'Neill's skill set is higher than Gabriela Fernandez, but Fernandez has got the hardware. She's a fucking big Brazilian brute. She's gonna go in there and rip off some fucking heavy left hands, some heavy right hooks, and some heavy body kicks. But other than that, I don't know what she's really got. You know, the Stoliarenko performance to me was kind of a setback, because she got a grappler test, right? Her first 2 fights in the UFC was Jasmine Jasudavicius and Teresa Bleda, 2 girls that are 100% going to try to take you down. And she failed those both miserably. She got taken down and she couldn't get back up. So then they gave her Striker and Judy. She looked good. She had a split decision win. It was a close fight. Kong Wang, she found the club and sub. And then they give her the grappler test again in Stoliarenko. And Stoliarenko has an armbar. That's kind of it. You know, she doesn't have great wrestling. She doesn't have methodical submit you with a rear naked choke type of jiu-jitsu game. She has a blitz into a takedown, roll to the armbar. That's it. And Fernandez looked scared to death to do anything because she was scared to get taken down. So going into this fight against Casey O'Neill, I think the threat on the feet is much higher than a Stoliarenko. I think the threat of the takedown is higher with Casey O'Neill compared to Stoliarenko. So then, you know, how does Fernandez really fight? I think she's going to be a bit gun shy. I think Casey O'Neill is going to have more volume, more output on the feet. So it's kind of a volume versus power shots in women's MMA. I kind of lean towards the girl that's landing more volume. And then you add in the grappling upside for Casey O'Neill, gives me a slight lean to Casey O'Neill. Plus the fact that she's training at a camp that I genuinely do feel like they do good work for their fighters. I got to go with Casey O'Neill here. It's a pick 'em. I wouldn't bet her at pick 'em. I wouldn't bet her as a favorite. But, you know, if the line does drop to where it was a couple days ago, or maybe yesterday, where she was like plus 115, I might have to get involved. If you give me plus 120, then I might have to get involved. But at the current odds, I think it's kind of a pass, but I lean towards Casey O'Neill. ACL really important for grappling. Got to be able to turn corners and push off the mat. I hope her knee is 100%, because if so, I certainly favor her here. Yeah, I agree. I mean, if she had the knee injury, but it's not like she's Jamal Hill in it. You know, it's not like she's coming back too soon. I feel like she's taking the time off. She's got a full training camp for this one. I think it kind of makes sense that O'Neill should be a slight favorite here. It's another clear ends and split decision. Yeah, don't force a side. I think decision, but watch out for O'Neill ground and pound. Yeah. I mean, Teresa Bleda was beating the piss out of her Fernandez late in the fight. I mean, if O'Neill, she's also got better cardio than Fernandez. I mean, if O'Neill can pace her, get on top late, you know, maybe we do see a late finish. O'Neill, if you look at her in the UFC, I mean, most of her wins have come inside the distance. Three of her 5 wins. Yeah, 3 of her 5 wins have come inside the distance. Granted, against pretty low-level competition. She did beat Shevchenko, though, right? We can't forget that. You can't forget about that. She beat Shevchenko. Maybe not the good one, but she beat Shevchenko. Antonina, if you know what I'm talking about. This feels like one of the fights that will determine if we have another 3PC winner this weekend. Yeah, definitely. This is a tough one to call. I should probably just put on the ticker that BP is not here. Should I do that so we don't get a bunch of these chats? Let me edit this. I'll put it in BP had a family emergency. So this is a solo jive Show tonight. There we go. Boom. BP had a family emergency, so this is a solo jive show tonight. Like the video, still to come. There we go. I can be BP for the episode. Nobody can fill the shoes of the great BP, okay? Nobody can do it. Moving on. We got heavyweights. We got Marcin Tybura taking on Tyrell Fortune. Dixon. Tyrell Fortune. Fortune. Tyrell comes in at minus 135. Tybura plus 115. I'm going to call him Tyrell because if I call him Fortune, I'm going to end up calling him Fortune. Tyrell coming in here, making his UFC debut. He's a longtime Bellator guy. He had some okay fights in Bellator, but I mean, if you look at the heavyweight division in the UFC, it's not good, right? It's not good. So then let's look at the heavyweight divisions in other promotions. It's going to be a lot worse. Okay. It's going to be a lot worse. So yeah, he's 13-2 in Bellator, but a lot of these fights are like not great fighters, man. Like really not all that great. I mean, he lost to Tim Johnson. He got knocked out, beat Matt Mitrione, which, you know, at that point, Matt Mitrione really wasn't much. Lost to Linton Vassell. Raheem Cleveland, he got a dub. he beat Marcelo Golm. The last time I bet, I'm laughing because the last time I bet on Tyrell, one of Tyrell's fights, I forget what I had a bet on, but I think it was maybe the over 1.5, or maybe I even bet on Tyrell. But he got heel hooked by Sergey Bellastini in round 1. Heel hooked, bro. He had never been submitted in his career, and he gets heel hooked in round 1, 2 minutes into the fight, against the guy in Sergey Bellastini, who had never had a submission in his career. Never. I was like, you can't make this shit up, right? I mean, come on. Tyrell had never been submitted in his career, and the guy he's facing has never had a submission in his career either. And Sergey had like 20 plus fights, and he's a striker. He's a heavyweight striker, and he pulls heel hook and he submits him. So let's just say Tyrell's not exactly, I don't really love Tyrell because I remember that fight vividly. I said, you can't make this shit up, man. How you losing the heel hook against a guy that's never had a submission, who's a striker? But he did. And he's coming in here as a favorite, which off the bat, UFC debut favorite. He's been heel hooked before. And he's facing Tybura. Tybura's 40. He's coming off the KO loss to Ante Dalia. I mean, what can you really like about him? The only way he really beats guys is if he takes him into the Tybura-verse, lets him tire out, ends up out cardioing him, out just surviving him, which he could do here. You know, if Tyrell comes in all amped up, UFC debut, feels like he can knock out Tybura, and he hits him, but Tybura survives it. Tybura can definitely outlast him. But I think Tyrell probably does get the early KO. I mean, Tyrell is a good athlete. He's 35. But I feel like he's just going to be way faster than Tybura. Tybura moves in slow motion. And Tybura has never really had hands like that. He's kind of hid behind his hands with his kicks. And then he wants to grapple with you. I don't think he's going to be able to grapple with Tyrell while he's fresh. I don't really think Tyrell has bad cardio, but if he does gas himself out early, then Tybura can take over. So, yeah, I think it's Tyrell early, round 1 KO, which Lucky Lou says you can get at plus 400, which looks pretty good to me. Round 1 KO looks pretty good to me. You might be better off just taking the money line because it seems like we can't get KOs nowadays. But yeah, I think it's probably Tyrell. Tybura going to get folded like gym shorts. I like the video, boys. Like it up. 35 going on 45. Yeah, Tyrell's not a spring chicken, but for the heavyweight division, they need heavyweights, bro. They need them. They need them. Martian should get this done. Too much experience and a slight reach edge. Feels like too much for Tyrell. I don't think you could say Tybura's too much for Tyrell. It's not like Tyrell is some young buck that is completely unproven. At least we have fights we could look at against a decent level of opposition to say, like, he belongs here, right? He belongs here. This isn't Taliesin Teixeira who had only had 7 fights and had knocked everybody out in the first round. Like, at least we've seen Tyrell go the distance before. At least we've seen it. Tyrell all the way. Well, he corners Waldo, and we've seen what he's done. Yeah, that's true. I forgot to mention that. He's a teammate of Waldo Cortez Acosta, and he cornered him his last fight. So, he can see what goes on with the UFC and everything. Everyone coming over from Bellator and PFL has gotten destroyed except MVP. I mean, Carlos Leal has done all right. He's done okay. Any other Bellator guys? Kyoji, or Gucci. I guess he was more Ryzen. Yeah, I guess you're kind of right. Read the ticker, bro. Read the ticker. Solid. I know we fucking slapped him in round 1. Whatever. All right, let's move on. Lightweight bout, we got Chase Hooper, 3 PC's own Chase Hooper, coming in at -270, taking on Lance Gibson Jr., who sits at +230. Lance Gibby comes in here as a big dog. He's 0-1 in the UFC. He lost to Bobby Green last year on the last card of the year in December. It was a short notice fight. They booked the fight on 4 days notice, and he fought a veteran in Bobby Green, and he lost by decision. A split decision, which honestly I didn't agree with, but it was a split. I thought Bobby pretty clearly won. But I guess, Bobby's style is kind of weird, so it might be tough to judge. But either way, Chase Hooper, big favorite here. 8-4 in the UFC, 26 years of age. He's been in the UFC for 8 years now? 9 years now? 7? No, definitely not 9. 8 or 7 years. He's got the experience edge over Lance Gibson, but Gibson's another guy that came over from Bellator. He's not like a long time Bellator guy. It's not like he's been like a staple in the division of Bellator by any means. They kind of were trying to build him up, and they were giving him a lot of squash matches, fights that he should win, fights where he's like a -500, -900 favorite. And then they gave him a step up in competition. He lost to Vladimir Tokov, who Tokov's not a bad fighter, but he got stuck with a jab in that fight in round 1 and got KO'd. So, I mean, the only time he's really fought anybody decent before he got to the UFC, he got KO'd by him. And then after Bellator, he's been fighting in Muckleshoot. And if you watch those fights, they're on YouTube. If anyone wants a good laugh, right? Watch Lance Gibson Jr. versus Chiron Spain. I'll tell you what happens. Chiron Spain comes out, he throws a kick, and then you can see him kind of like second guess, ooh, that something went weird there. He's trying to step on it, kind of jumping, looking like something's wrong with my foot. And Lance Gibson doesn't really do anything, right? It wasn't like it was a clean check or anything. The guy just threw the kick, and then they kind of separate and go back to range. And then Spain runs at him. He throws a couple punches, runs at him, falls into the cage as Gibson circles out, and then falls down on the ground and is get me out of here. So basically, the first kick that Chiron Spain threw, I think he might have hit the wrong part of his foot, and he was like, "No, get me out of here." That was one of that was his last KO win for Lance Gibson. That was his last KO win. It wasn't really a KO. The guy just had an injury. So, when I look at this fight, I'm like, I need some type of danger from Lance Gibson on the feet. I need it because against Chase Hooper, he's going to be active in your face. He's going to be throwing a lot of volume on the feet. His wrestling isn't great, but he's willing to pressure you with all these kicks and weird looping combinations because he's so long and gangly that it kind of overwhelms you. But if you have the power to make him respect you or hurt him on the feet, then things can go wrong for Chase. But I don't really see that from Lance Gibson. But then you look at the other side. It's like, well, if Hooper's forced to strike with Gibson, does Hooper look like a big favorite here? Probably not, right? I think Gibson is good enough to handle himself on the feet. I don't love that he's pretty low volume and he doesn't seem to really have big power on the feet. And he's usually winning a lot of his fights with his wrestling because he's got a wrestling background. And I think he's a decent wrestler. Definitely a good defensive wrestler, which I think is going to work well for him in this fight because if Chase Hooper tries to take him down, I don't think he's going to be able to have a lot of success with it. So Chase Hooper at minus 270 is kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy because I think this could end up being mostly a striking match unless Lance Gibson's dumb enough to follow Chase Hooper to the ground. You know, if Gibson wants to take down Hooper, he can easily take him down because Hooper's he's gonna welcome it. But Gibson should not be trying to take him down. He should be trying to outstrike him on the feet because I think he's the better, more technical striker, probably has heavier hands than Chase, but he's a bit low volume. So I think it's kind of a dog or pass. I know a lot of people in the chat don't like it when I say that, but I think it's dog or pass. If you're going to play a money line here, I think you're better off taking a shot on Lance Gibson at plus 230 than laying minus 270 on Chase Hooper and hoping that he gets the fight to the ground. You know, just hoping that he finds a submission or hoping that he finds a way to gain a position on the ground that he could take advantage of. Is Gibson smart enough to keep it on the feet, though, is the question. Because it might just come down to muscle memory of like, okay, Chase Hooper's running at me, throwing this combination. I'm going to shoot a takedown, and then boom, Chase Hooper's, on his back, throwing up arm bars and creating scrambles. Why Lance Gibson look like Timu Austin Lane? Kinda. Nah. Not really, Dixon. I don't see it, bro. I don't see it. I added Hooper to the parlay, bro. So if he loses it, he comes on the show after. I just want to talk to him. Yeah, I mean, we'll try to get Chase on the show. We'll try to get him on the show. Gibson is slow. I mean, anybody's going to look slow against Bobby Green. I don't think he's slow. I think he's just indecisive. He's very indecisive on the feet. Hooper's spinning attack last fight pissed me off. I'll give him a second chance. There you go. Hooper striking has gotten better. It has gotten decent, but it's just not where he's comfortable. It's not where he wants to be. So anytime a minus 270 favorite goes into a fight where the fight's probably not going to take place where he wants it to be, that's when I would get nervous about a minus 270 favorite. Lance Gibson was scared of Bobby Green and fought like a coward, but Chase Hooper is the least intimidating male fighter on the UFC roster. Lomaluk Boonmay is more intimidating than him. I mean, that can be deceiving, though. If somebody doesn't look intimidating, then you can underestimate them, and then that's how you get caught. That's how you end up getting choked out. That's how you end up getting your fucking leg torn off. Stuff like that. If I saw Mikey Musumeci on the street and I didn't know who he was, I'd be like, fuck this dude, this fucking nerd, right? And then he fucking rolls through my leg and tears my shit. I'm going to be thinking twice before I judge people on how they look, right? Shit can go wrong if you underestimate your opponent based on the way they look. Lance should know Chase has nasty jits. I mean, he should know, right? He should know. I said this in my picks video, but I'm like, sometimes you would think fighters would know a good game plan, but I think their ego gets in the way. They're like, no, I can handle his jiu-jitsu. Like I have good jiu-jitsu. I'm not scared to go to the ground with Chase Hooper. And then they take him down and he goes to the ground with him and he gets fucking swept and then he gets his back taken and he gets choked out. That's how their fucking ego loses them some fights. That's how it works. So shit fight as far as, trying to find a good betting angle, because I don't really want to trust Lance Gibson, but I also don't really trust Hooper at minus 270. So let's move on from it. Lightweight bout, we got Ignacio Bahamondes taking on Tofik Musayev. Musayev comes in at plus 250. Bahamondes minus 300. Musayev lost his debut against Orobai. Bahamondes 6-3 in the UFC, coming off the loss to another Azerbaijanian. Is that what they call them? Azerbaijanians or Azerbaijites? Who knows? But he's coming off the loss to Rafael Fiziev. They both fought on the same card, right? That was in Azerbaijan. Yeah, June 21st, 2025. June 21st, 2025. Bahamondes is taking this on short notice. He's stepping in for Samuel Sanchez, which, if I'm Tofik Musayev, I'm like, fuck, dude, right? I'm not saying Sanchez is a great or a bad fighter, but it's a little bit of an easier second fight, getting a guy that's making his UFC debut compared to a guy that has 9 UFC fights. So the line, I think Bahamondes is the rightful favorite, but at minus 300, it's a bit pricey because you factor in Bahamondes is not like an offensive grappler. He's not an offensive grappler. Musayev historically has struggled with guys that'll take him down. Submission defense is kind of poor, and he's a guy that wants to keep the fight on the feet. So Bahamondes is likely to give him a fight on the feet because I don't think Bahamondes has the wrestling to really expose Musayev. But then on the feet, Musayev isn't really very high volume. He's kind of a guy that likes to pick his power shots, uses a lot of footwork, trying to create angles. And I think Bahamondes is kind of just going to kick him at range to force him to make a move. And then Musayev can make his move. I think Musayev can hurt him. I think Musayev can land some punches on Bahamondes because he's there to be hit. But I don't know that he's going to be able to knock him out. I mean, he's got 18 KOs, but is he going to knock out Bahamondes? Bahamondes is pretty damn durable, man. I've seen him take some shots, and he just keeps walking forward. And then you look at, if Musayev does try to wrestle here against Bahamondes, which people have done, people that are his height. Ludovic Klein, 5'7", Fiziev, 5'8". They're at a significant size and reach disadvantage or height and reach disadvantage that they don't mind going for those takedowns. But if you go for the takedown against Bahamondes and you're Musayev, your submission defense is pretty shit. So Bahamondes with those long limbs, he snatched up 2 submissions in the UFC already against guys like Jalen Turner and Rong Zhu. So I could see a submission for Bahamondes. But I could also see Musayev taking him down and just being heavy on top. Got him up against the cage, kind of like Fiziev did. And on the feet, I think Musayev can make it competitive, but I don't really trust his overall output. And he's 36. So Bahamondes should be the favorite, but I could see ways where this fight, starts to go wrong for Bahamondes. He's getting clipped up on the feet. Musayev's a lot faster. But I think he probably ends up getting this one done one way or another. Possibility of Nacho by wheel kick? Maybe. I mean, that one against Roosevelt Roberts was fucking nasty, but I think Musayev's quick enough and good enough of a striker to see it coming and not get hit by it. I'm just worried that Bilal stole Ignacio's powers during training without the sex. What the fuck does that mean? So not betting allows me to enjoy the sport for what it is. There you go. Couldn't be me, but props to you, brother. Stopped betting 7 months ago. Been training Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu since I'm an old, broken down, retired firefighter. I'm too old to fight, so I would love to be an MMA ref down here in South Florida. Good. We need some more refs, right? Let's get Mark Goddard out of there fucking taking points after the second nut shot. It's crazy. The Musayev gets subbed. I could see it. Tafik got cut. My Bellator because he got kicked low. Claimed, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, he got kicked against Shabali, Alexander Shabali, in the body, and he said it was a nut shot, and then they ended it by KO. If this comes to striking, Tafik is finished. Oh yeah, no, I remember this trend. I look up Bilal's quote. He said basically he was stealing the kid's powers. Yeah. I remember that. That was a crazy thing to say from Bilal. Like, what the fuck? How did he even come up with that? If he came up with that before, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna say this. It's gonna be real funny. Somebody should have told him, bro. Yeah, bad joke. Bad joke. We need refs and mainly judges. We need judges as well. Yeah, we need better judges and better refs. We need it all. We need it all to be better. All right, before we go to the main card, we got to announce this week's UFC Seattle contest giveaway. So last week, as we went over at the top of the show, Mr. Silly Gilly Goose MMA Show won $1,000. That's $1,000 for picking a perfect card on UFC London. Now, we're not running it back because Silly Gilly Goose might just pull out another perfect card. This week, 3PC is running a contest to compete against me or Big Gun, BP, on the following UFC card. So you make your picks on the pick. I was going to say simulator, but pick the pick spot on 3Punch Convo. There we go. I'll put the banner out there. 3punchconvo.com. Make your picks on 3punchconvo.com for UFC Seattle. They got 13 of them. If you should probably put in all of them because you want the best chance that you can get to make the most units on the card. But whoever is up the most units, whoever is the most profitable capper based on their picks on 3Punch Convo, you will win a chance to go head-to-head against me or Big Gun, BP, next week at the Apex. And if you beat us, you'll win $500. You can choose whether you want to go against me or BP, and we'll get our picks in for this week. So maybe you want to take a look at how we do on that week. But we'll go head-to-head, and if you are more profitable than either of us on the Apex card following UFC Seattle, you'll win a $500. That's 3punchconvo.com. Link down in the description below. You can use code BigJive to get a free month, or you can sign up for free. But if you use a code BigJive, you'll get full access to the whole, everything that 3Punch Convo has to offer. As BP says, he's all in on Chase Super this Saturday. BP, maybe a little empty the clip later on. But shout out to 3Punch Convo. $1,000 for basically a free contest to join is honestly crazy. So shout out to them, as always, giving out some good stuff to the people. All right, let's keep it rolling. We got a lightweight bout here to open up the main card. Terrence McKinney comes in as a -170 favorite, taking on Kyle Nelson, who sits at +145. Kyle Nelson, 5-5-1. He's kind of gone back and forth. He was fighting at 155, then he went down to featherweight, and now recently he's gone back up to 155. And he's coming off the win against Matt Favola. Before that, he got knocked out against Steve Garcia, 3PC's own Steve Garcia, in the first round. But Steve Garcia has been knocking out everybody. And after that fight, Kyle Nelson was kind of on a 3-fight winning streak, and then he got knocked out by Steve Garcia. And then I think maybe he looked at that and said, well, I made my run. At this point, I'm just going to go up a weight class, maybe fight out my contract and get some paychecks. But he got a win against Matt Favola. So now maybe he's probably second guessing it a little bit, saying, well, maybe I can do some things here. So they give him Terrence McKinney. McKinney's coming off of the loss to Chris Duncan. Got anaconda choked in 2 minutes and 30 seconds in a wild fight, which we all know if it's a Terrence McKinney fight, it's going to be wild. And he's going to go out there and try to finish you in the first round. If he can't do that, he's probably going to get got. But he can also get KO'd or can get finished in the first round himself because he fights at such a hectic pace. He can get caught on the feet, or he can get caught in a submission as well. Personally, guys, I know in the chat, you probably are fans of Terrence McKinney. I've never really been a believer, guys. I've never really been a believer. I remember when he knocked out Matt Frevola and then submitted Sfaraziem. And every time after that, I feel like I've just been disappointed, you know? Every time that he's fought anybody decent, he's losing. He's losing. Drew Dober got him. Bonfim got him. Sajikov got him. Ribovics got him. Chris Duncan got him. Like, they're not bad losses, right? But they're against opponents that are, you know, solid fighters. They're good. But when he wins, it's Eric Gonzalez, cut. Mike Breeden, cut. Brendan Moreau, cut. Damir Hadzovic, cut. Vyacheslav Borshov, cut. They're all cut. Anybody that he's beaten after the Faraziem fight is no longer in the UFC. Mainly because the what they were doing in the UFC was so bad, they had to cut him. It's not one of these situations where it's like a Martin Budai where he's winning, but he's just not exciting. No, these guys sucked. These guys were bad. So anytime he faces anybody with like a pulse that has a, you know, a decent history in the UFC, he's losing. And at the current line, you know, I think Kyle Nelson shouldn't be a plus 145 dog. Like, I get it. Terrence McKinney's going to be faster. But he's only going to be faster for about 2.5 minutes. then he's done. I don't really buy into the Terrence McKinney hype. Never have. And it's worked out in some scenarios. But I'm going to take Kyle Nelson here as the dog, boys. Give me Kyle Nelson. Give me the Canadian. Give me that mustache. Give me that mustache to get it done. I think he can outlast him. I mean, does Terrence McKinney just run through him on the ground? Like, is he just going to take him down, take his back, fight's over? I don't think so. Is he going to take him? He's going to go in there. I mean, I guess maybe he could hurt him, hits him with a flurry. Kyle Nelson panics and he's out of there. Maybe. But at plus 145, I think it's dog or pass. Hey, Jai, buyer beware. McKinney at media day today said he's coming to take his time and fight for 15 minutes and not get killed early. Go watch that interview before betting this fight. I'm going to tell you right now, Dixon, whatever the fuck Terrence McKinney said, I ain't buying it. All right? I ain't fucking buying it. I don't care what he says. I don't care if he says he's going to go out there and run circles around the octagon for 15 minutes. I ain't buying it, bro. I ain't listening to that guy. Chess piece is insane. It is pretty nice. It's pretty nice. Hey, Jive is Drew Dober's mentor. I don't know what you're alluding to there, bro. McKinney's the pick. Younger, faster. Should be able to overwhelm Nelson early. 4 losses by KO and sub for Nelson. I mean, come on, brother. Most of those KO losses are late in the fight from like people out cardioing him, outpacing him, outclassing him. Terrence McKinney isn't finishing anybody after the first round. Like, it's not happening. The only time that somebody got him early on was Steve Garcia. And for one, there were illegal shots to the back of the head. For two, it's Steve Garcia. Steve Garcia would murk Terrence McKinney, bro. I don't really care for a side here. I'm just concerned the under 1.5 is a trap. Based on how the fights have been going this year, I mean, the under 1.5 feels like a trap. I mean, it's a Terrence McKinney fight. He's never gone under 1.5 rounds, ever. Ever. This would be the year. The way that this year has started, where we have these massive favorites going out there, the unders are like minus 200. Under 1.5 is minus 200. They're finding a way to go to decision, bro. Ateba Gauthier, decision. Last week, Kondratovicius, decision. Pinto, decision. I mean, come on, man. It could be a fucking trap. Could be. What is the under 1.5? Minus 300? Minus 250? Okay, it kind of makes sense. Yeah. It opened minus 400? Holy shit. Under 1.5 rounds, open minus 400. in that fight. It's down to minus 250. All Nelson has to do is be careful for 3 minutes. That's what I'm saying, bro. It's like the script is out against Terrence. It's like, okay, mind your P's and Q's for 3 minutes, and then you take over. Anybody that faces Terrence McKinney, you're going to have better cardio than him. So just mind your P's and Q's, bro. Nelson round 2 KO. Could see it. All right, let's move on. Up the card. We got a middleweight bout. Mansour Malik taking on Yusri Bulgari. Bulgari minus 102. Malik minus 118. Malik still undefeated, 9-0-1, coming off a win against Antonio Tricoli. Round 1 submission. Before that was a draw to Cody Brundage. A draw to Cody Brundage in 2025. 2025. Abdul Malik's going to a draw with Cody Brundage. Now, was it a real draw? Not really. What happened in that fight? It was 1-1, which is still a bad look. And in the third round, he headbutted him and then landed some shots. The ref stepped in. Cody Brundage's team appeals it. They look at the replay. They see there's a headbutt, and then they overturn it, and they look at the scorecards. They call it a draw. So the undefeated record is still intact, but I can't ever look at that fight against Cody Brundage and say, yeah, that was a good performance from Abdul Malik. No, I can't look at any of these, man. Abdul Malik he hasn't even beaten a UFC level fighter. Antonio Tricoli, no. Cody Brundage, no. Nick Klein, no. Dusko Todorovic, no. And then on Contender Series, he beat Wes Schultz. Yeah, Wes Schultz is in the UFC, guys, right? But look at a couple weeks ago when Wes Schultz was fighting in Mexico and he went up against the guy that's the better striker than him. He got fucking floored in round 1. What did Abdul Malik do to him? He was competitive. It was extremely competitive until Wes Schultz gassed out, essentially. It was competitive until Wes Schultz gassed out, and then Abdul Malik was still there. I'm not sold on Abdul Malik. And I was really hoping today on the show, I would get to hear what BP had to think about this one, because BP put Mansour Abdul Malik on his prospects to watch this year. So I was interested to hear what he had to say about this matchup. Now, maybe we can get some insight on that, at a later time. But I'm not sold on him, man. And Yusri Bulgari, a guy that fought on the Contender Series twice. He lost the first time to Marco Tullio. Apparently in that fight, Bulgari was dealing with some health issues. Maybe I'm mistaking it, but I think it had something to do with like Lyme's disease or something. So there were some health issues in that fight. I think he took it on short notice as well, and he lost the decision. Was fairly competitive in that one, but clearly it didn't look great. And then second time around, he got a round 3 KO, but there was like a point taken. I don't think they signed him. I don't feel like they signed Yusri after that fight. I think they didn't sign him. And then he stepped in to fight on a fight night against Azamat Bakoyev. And he won. And Bakoyev, I didn't think Bakoyev was really all that great. I actually did think Bulgari had a good chance to win that fight because he's so big. I mean, he's 6'6". He's got the Glory kickboxing background. He fought Alex Pereira, beat Alex Pereira once by decision. He fought Alex Pereira 3 times, beat him once by decision, got knocked out the other 2 times. And then he fought Israel Adesanya back in the day as well. That was back in 2016. Lost both of those, but a long history in Glory kickboxing. So he's a legit kickboxer who has been training with Alex Pereira for a long time now in MMA. And I feel like his MMA game has gotten pretty good. Like his takedown defense looked good against Bakoyev. When he did get taken down, he was pushing on the head just so long that he can just push on your head, get back to one knee, and then get back up to his feet. If Mansour can get the takedown and flat back him, then I think there could be some problems. because I don't think Bulgari's, jiu-jitsu is probably all that great. I'm not saying Abdul Malik's is good either, but I think he could just be heavy on top. Maybe Bulgari isn't too keen on finding escapes from bottom position, but I'm not so sure that it really gets there. Like, yeah, the grappling upside's probably on Mansour's side, but who has he grappled, man? Like, he hasn't really shown me any type of legit wrestling in the UFC. He hasn't. All we're really basing that off of is Mansour's wrestling background, and then Yusri being a kickboxer. So it's like, okay, if you have a wrestling background and you're going up against a kickboxer, you should be able to take him down and win on the ground. But he hasn't shown me that in UFC. So I think Yusri's the side here. I think Yusri should be able to outpoint him at range. I think he's the much better striker. He's the guy that throws a lot more volume as well. Mansour is constantly like not really doing anything at range. That's not just based on the Brundage fight either. The Nick Klein fight, he wasn't doing shit at range. He actually got hit with that spinning back elbow, which I don't hold against him, but he wasn't doing anything against Nick Klein on the feet in round one, and he kind of just waited until Nick Klein gassed out to find the TKO. I don't think Mansour really has like crazy power, and I feel like Yusri will be able to take the shot if he lands it. I think Yusri's cleaner on the feet. Give me Yusri to get this one done. Bulgari money line, trains with Alex. That has to amount to something. Yeah, exactly. 6'6" is huge for the weight class, and he is N84 skinny for that height. He's not. Yeah, he's not skinny. He's got some traps to him, bro. Got some traps. I don't even know how he makes 185. The probably the best part about him training with Pereira is he knows how to cut weight like a motherfucker, dude. Yusri's a big-time kickboxer, fought Izzy and Poetan and Glory. I'm on the Mansour side here, but this could end early for him if he isn't careful. Yeah, I mean, I personally don't really think Bulgari's like a big power puncher. I just think he's super legit at controlling distance and picking you apart from distance. And he's got solid takedown defense. Bulgari by finish plus 240. Honestly, don't get the Malik hype at all. Agree. Bulgari has great striking. He does. Does anyone think Bruno Lopez is beating Nava? I don't think anyone is. What up, Premium Picks? How we doing, brother? Mansour fraud check incoming. Absolutely. Yeah, the Cody fight was crazy, bro. I remember being there at the Atlanta card, and that fight was happening, and everyone was just like, what the fuck is happening right now? Like, what are they doing? Hey, Driver, remember what I told you? Dante did told you Dante did with Cody Brundage, agreeing to go to the distance so they could cash the plus 600. Mansour and Brundage, both managed by Jason House, did the same thing. We get it back. Well, the thing is they didn't go to decision because if you had a bet on like Mansour KO, it cashed at the time. And if you had a bet on the fight to not go the distance, it cashed at the time. And I don't think they went back and like regraded bets because on that night, Mansour won by round 3 KO. But then they appealed it and then they changed it. But that was like months later. That card was shit. It was not very good, honestly. There was a couple good fights, but the main card was not very good. All right, let's move on. Featherweight bout, Julian Rosa taking on Leon Douglas. Leon comes in at minus 300. Rosa plus 250. Leon, I don't know how to say it, honestly. I think it's Leon Douglas. Larian. I don't think it's Larian because he's Brazilian. So it's Leon. Larian. Anyone in the chat, let me know. Leon Douglas. We'll just call him Douglas. Douglas, 13-5 professional career, 5-0 in his last 5. And he's on a 5-fight knockout win streak. He got a contract on the Contender Series after knocking out Cam Teague. One of the brutalest KOs I've ever seen. Ever. The way he landed that left hook, Cam Teague went stiff as a board. Boom. on the canvas. It was disgusting. I thought he might have died. Larian Douglas has some legit power. I mean, the guy hits people and they go like flying. And that makes me very concerned here for Julian Rosa, who's been knocked out 7 times. And if you look back further, he was on The Ultimate Fighter and he got knocked out on The Ultimate Fighter, but it doesn't show it on his record because it was an exhibition. So legitimately, he's been knocked out 8 times in competition. So that's even worse. He's 36 years of age. And I think Douglas does get the KO, but minus 300 on a guy making his UFC debut, whose path to victory is kind of KO or bust. I don't love it. Right? Because Julian Rosa, he's going to have a lot more output than Douglas. He's got more grappling upside than Douglas. So if this fight ends in anything outside of a KO, I think Douglas is losing. Rosa's got legit submission game. I mean, he can choke you with triangle, guillotine, rear naked, whatever. He's going to attack that submission. And usually when he's attacking that submission, it's because guys are panicking. Because he puts so much pressure on you on the feet. He's in your face. He's throwing a bunch of volume, and you shoot for a takedown out of a reaction of like, this guy's overwhelming me. I got to slow him down, and then he'll submit you. Now, on the opposite side, Julian Rosa's pressure is kind of what scares me to think he's probably getting KO'd here, because he's so aggressive on the feet and he's just carefree. He's like, just no cares in the world. It's like he's just out walking. It's a nice sunny day, just not protecting himself. Okay. There's nothing there. I mean, he's throwing and he's letting his combinations go, and his hands are down at his hips and his chin's up in the air. And I feel like that's where Douglas is going to catch him with a left hook or a big right hand and hurt him, and then follow it up with a kill shot. So yeah, I think Douglas probably gets it done by KO. Thank you for the pronunciation in the chat, Archie. Le Rion. Larion Douglas probably gets this one done by KO. But if you're looking at that on the books, I mean, you're not going to get it for free, right? Douglas KO is looking at minus 150. It's pretty expensive. You probably want to look at like a round 1 KO, honestly. Round 1 KO for Douglas. Plus 180. Whew, not great. Rosa could pull it off, but he's going to have to like avoid death. He's going to have to avoid death. Because like if Rosa gets his game going, Douglas has quit before. That's what I don't like about Larian Douglas is he's not exactly some invincible guy. He's got 5 losses. You look at some of his fights, all you really got to go back is look at the Isaac Thompson fight. He got hit with that head kick, and it wasn't like a flush head kick. He got hit with a head kick, like partially blocked it, and then just curled up in a ball and gave up. He gave up. He quit. Some people might say, like, I'm not going to say he quit. He quit, bro. He quit. And you can even look at his fight against Nathan Garib. At the end of the first round, Garib hit him with some solid shots, and Douglas was covering up. He wasn't down on the ground, but he was up against the cage just covering up. And Garib's like hitting him. He's not doing anything. He's not even like bobbing, weaving. He's just covering up, almost as like to say, yeah, I'm out of here. But then the round ended, and then in round 2, he knocked him out in the first 45 seconds. So this is a weird fight. Not a chance in hell am I laying minus 300 on Larian Douglas. And honestly, I think it's a fight where I'm probably laying off a minus 150 KO prop, because it's a chalky price, man. Minus 150 on a featherweight. to get a KO. Like I know that's the most likely outcome. I'm going to pick that outcome for, this fight, but I think it's if you're going to put a bet in, like I think you probably got to just take Julian Rosa plus 250 and hope he doesn't die. But at the same time, it's like if he dies, he dies, Not saying you should put a lot of units on him, but maybe a little sprinkle on a Rosa to get it done. Dougie coming from the Cub Swanson camp, he will be prepared like him to KO Rosa. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There seems to be one upset this high up on the card in the price range lately to mess up everyone's parlays going into the final couple fights. You're not wrong, brother. You are not wrong. Could be a weird referee spot to get the USA fighter to win. Yeah, I mean, Rosa's from the region as well. He's from Washington, so it's a home fight for him. And I actually messaged him early in the week. I said, "War Juicy J," because Juicy J is one of my favorite guys in the UFC. And if I ever DM him, I know he's going to respond pretty quickly. And he did. So I'm pulling for him. I hope Juicy J can get it done. Always been a fan. Nice dude. And I hope he gets a W. Rosa's a confusing puzzle to solve. Love him as a dog. He's very confusing, man. Very. He's tricky. He's a tricky vet, You don't want to enter the Juicy J verse. You don't want to do it. Can I throw a big meaty hook? Big meaty hook. I got a nasty left hook, boys. Okay. I'm telling you right now, you put me in there. Pop, pop, pop. My left hook was money. Absolute money. Real good stuff on the left hook. You don't want me in the ring. You don't want me in the cage. Bodies will be hitting the floor. Let's move on. Speaking of bodies will be hitting the floor, somebody's body hit the floor in their last fight.
He's fighting a corpse.
And it wasn't Nico Price because his body never hit the floor. He got KO'd on the feet against Nico Veretennikov.
He's fighting a corpse.
I wish BP was here for that one. I was really looking forward to talking to BP about another Nico Price fight, because the last time we broke down a Nico Price fight, I mean, it was just pure cinema. He went in there against Nico Veretennikov. Let's just remember this, guys, right? Like Nico Veretennikov, it was like 1-4 in the UFC. And Nico Price made Veretennikov look like fucking Ateba Gautier in there. I mean, he went in there and just melted through Nico Price like he didn't even deserve to be in the same cage as Nikolai Veretennikov, the guy who's 1-4 in the UFC at the time. So that should tell you all you need to know about where Nico Price is at 36 years of age. I've done a lot of shit talking. And honestly, it's not shit talking. It's just kind of like making jokes about Nico Price and where he's at in his career, which honestly, it's fun to joke about because it's kind of ridiculous, right? Like Nico Price he's 1-4. No, it's worse than that. It's worse. He's 1-2. He's 1-5 in his last 6. He's 2-7 in his last 9. 2-7 in his last 9 fights. 2-7 in his last 9 fights. Oh my God. That can't be a thing. It is. 2-7 in his last 9 fights. He's 36. His body doesn't work anymore. I mean, he walks around like everything hurts. It's like you see one of those old people. Like you see old people walking around, right? And they're not in good shape. And it looks like every step they take, like they're just in pain. Or you see like those old dogs, like those old 15-year-old dogs that are crusted up and they don't really move throughout the day, but they got to go out to take a shit. They got to go out to piss. And so they get up off the couch and it just looks like every step they take, it hurts. That's what Nico Price looks like in the cage. It looks like it physically hurts his body to do anything in there. He's extremely slow. He has no takedown defense. There's nothing happening from Nico. I don't know. Alex Morono lost to this guy 2 years ago. Alex Morono lost to this guy. Temba Garimbo, he made Temba Garimbo look like fucking Habib. Temba Garimbo was doing whatever he wanted to Nico, and somehow, Temba didn't finish him. Jacoby Smith literally knocked this guy out. We remember Nico Veretennikov knocking him out while he was standing. He was knocked out cold, standing up. But the ref stepped in. Jacoby Smith knocked him out in the first round, but then immediately shot a takedown. So by the time Nico Price got taken down, he woke back up. And then we know how that fight went. Jacoby Smith carried him to go over 1.5 rounds. Everybody lost their under 1.5 round bet. And, he got a little bit of back pay after that. Submitted him in round 2 with like 57 seconds left. Michael Kiesa, it's his retirement fight. He's 38. He was supposed to fight Carlson Harris, which, lucky for Michael Kiesa, he didn't have to fight Carlson Harris because Kiesa's Achilles heel has always been the front chokes. And Carlson Harris has like one of the nastiest anaconda chokes in the division, honestly. So lucky for him, Harris pulls out and they bring in Nico Price. And we all remember Nico Price against Robbie Lawler, right? If you don't remember it, if you're a newer fan, just think about this, right? Robbie Lawler, this is just crazy, dude. Robbie Lawler was like 1-6, 1-5 out of his last 6 fights. Not even close to the prime of his career. He fought Nico Price in his retirement fight, and he knocked Nico Price out 39 seconds into the fight with the shortest uppercut in the clinch I've ever seen. There's no chance Robbie Lawler threw that punch thinking he was going to knock out Nico Price. I literally think he just threw that as like a way of like, get off me. Like one of these. Just get off me, bro. Like they're in the clinch. Just get off me. But it folded Nico Price so bad that people thought he took a dive. Little did we know Nico Price's chin was just that bad. Just that bad. So now against Michael Chiesa and Chiesa's retirement fight, Chiesa's never had a knockout in his 26-fight career. It's going to happen, bro. Michael Chiesa is getting a knockout here. It's going to happen. It can't not happen. Plus 1,300 on the Michael Chiesa KO. Come on. Sign me up, boys. Sign me up. Michael Chiesa KO plus 1,300. Come on. That's worth a stab. It's worth a stab. He's fighting a corpse, as BP would say. He's
fighting a corpse.
A corpse. Kiesa does love a good overhand triangle head choke. Yeah, exactly. I completely forgot about that Rob fight. Shit was nuts. I was there. Tail of the tape doesn't always tell you the story. 6 foot with a 76-inch reach. Bring back virtually identical. Well, what does that mean? What happened to your co-host BP? Look at the freaking ticker, brother. We need Brian Pounder back in the studio. He had a family emergency. Couldn't be on the pod today, unfortunately. Give Jacob We Want Picks his credit for this Nico Price analogy. What was his analogy? Robbie was also a champion. Yeah, but he wasn't close to being champion at that point, brother. I do like the TKO on the ground. Yeah, I could see it. Let's just say, Michael Chiesa lands 1 ground and pound strike. Who's to say Nico Price doesn't just go out cold? Over 1.5 or Chiesa money line. Chiesa round 2 sub, lock it in, bros. Chiesa by rear naked choke. The thing is, the sub is like I just don't even know if he's gonna get a chance to sub him. If he lands one punch, I mean, the fight could be fucking over, man. It could be over. Nico Price, the chin is just terrible. Hey, Jive, why do I have a suspicion Nico Price has a sportsbook account under the name of each of his 9 kids, and he bets on himself to lose by the method of his choice to get a double paycheck? I wouldn't doubt it. The problem is his 9 kids would all have to be over 21 years old to have a sportsbook account, so that's probably not accurate. I can't believe they're letting him fight either. How can you let him fight? Kiesa having a dog named Volk. He has a dog named Volk. That's crazy. Love Brian. He's back. Hope he's back soon, but you holding it down. You have great knowledge of MMA history. Thank you, brother. Yeah, hopefully BP will be back next week, but we shall see. We shall see. He had some analogy about Kiesa KO, retirement analogy. I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? Like, Nico Price's chin is just that bad that Kiesa KO could be live at literally any moment. Any moment in the fight, Nico Price's chin could give out. This guy got standing knocked out a month and a half ago. Kiesa by KO has to be a little bit of a shot. You can bet at 18. Depends what kind of betting you're talking about, brother. Oh, let's move on. Co-main event, we got a flyweight bout here. Alexa Grasso taking on Macy Barber. Barber sits at minus 185, taking on Alexa Grasso, sits at plus 160. This is a rematch dating back to 2021. Was it 2021? 2021, February 13th of 2021. So it's been 5 years since these ladies fought. And in the first fight, Alexa Grasso won 29-28. And she won a unanimous decision. Since then, Macy Barber has won 7 fights in a row. Miranda Maverick, De La Rosa, Jessica Iyer, Andrea Lee, Amanda Hebos, Caitlin Chikagian, and Karine Silva. And on the other side, Alexa Grasso, she went on to become the champion of the division, dethroning Valentina Shevchenko, then went to a draw, and then lost to Valentina, and then lost to Natalia Silva. So very different careers after that first fight. And I think it's important that we start at that point. And I know it's going to be tough, right? Alexa Grasso won the first fight. So then you look at the odds. Macy Barber's a minus 185 favorite. So it's going to make you take a look. Say, what am I missing here, right? Well, something that I think people have missed when you look at that first fight. And if that first fight is playing out as some information that you're looking at in this fight, as far as why you should take Alexa Grasso, I think you should take a different, I'll just tell you about it, okay? Alexa Grasso was 27 in that fight. Macy Barber was 22. So the age difference there, Macy Barber's 22 years of age. At 22, you're going to be built a little bit different than you are at 27. Also, Macy Barber was coming off of a full knee reconstruction after she blew out her knee against Roxanne Matafari. So not only was she coming back after a long layoff, but it was a long layoff coming back from an injury at 22 years of age. And if you watch that fight, early on in the fight, Macy Barber's fucking punching air. She's punching air. She was scared shitless. And then as the fight went on, she started to have more success. She won the 3rd round based off of doing what she usually likes to do, which is get into the clinch, land some takedowns, make the fight dirty, bully you. And every fight after that, she's won doing those things. So now 5 years later, I think this is a much better version of Macy Barber than we saw in the first fight when she fought Alexa Grasso. Is it a better version of Alexa Grasso? You would like to say so, right? Like, I think Alexa Grasso has also made improvements to her game. But the downside of that is Alexa Grasso became the champion and then lost the belt and then lost another fight after that. It's to Valentina Shevchenko and Natalia Silva. Are those bad losses? No, but she's already been to the top. She's already been to the top. She's already beaten the girl across from her. The motivation at this point for Alexa Grasso is to maybe get back to a title fight, but that's going to be a long road. It's going to be a long road. I know she's 32, but I wouldn't be shocked if there's a drop-off for Alexa Grasso at this point in her career where she goes on a bit of a losing streak. And I think Maycee Barber has the momentum coming in this one. I think stylistically, she's got a much better chance to implement her style against Grasso compared to when they first fought 5 years ago, coming off of an injury. And I think Maycee Barber wins this one by decision. I think Maycee Barber, the offense that she puts out there makes it very tough for her opponent to win fights on scorecards. And I think that's why you see her getting these close decisions. I mean, the Andrea Lee fight wasn't exactly like a runaway fight for Maycee Barber. It was close. But Maycee puts on offense, and she doesn't get hit all that often. She doesn't really make a lot of defensive mistakes. Alexa Grasso, on the other hand, she's solid offensively, but she can also be had on the defensive end. So I think Maycee Barber gets it done. I think she probably gets it done by decision. Probably 29-28. I could see it being close, but I think the pace, physicality of Maycee Barber ultimately gets it done. Just can't trust Maycee coming in with a consistent mindset. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I know it's not really like you can be mega confident in Maycee Barber, but I feel like this is a fight she wins, bro. Thank you for still doing the show. No problem, brother. No shame in losing to the GOAT, Roxy. Yeah. Shout out Roxy. What up, Russ? How we doing, brother? Maycee by Mother's Milk so I can pretend I'm cross. That's crazy, bro. Wild idea, losers should start an OF account. I don't think either are. I don't think either will. Aggression goes a long way in WMMA, and Maycee has way more than Grasso. Exactly. That's why I've always liked Maycee Barber as a fighter. I'm like, this girl is so aggressive. She bullies girls in there. So I think that's why she gets the nod on the judges' scorecards a lot, because she's out there being aggressive. Didn't realize they were 5 years apart. Yeah. I mean, Maycee got into the UFC very young. So now she's matured, if you know what I mean, but artificially matured. Sleep with versus marry, Grasso or Maycee? I'm a married man, brother. I ain't going to be answering those type of questions. Let's move on to the main event. Hit the like button for me. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Hype up the stream. If there's a little bit of a button down there, I think it's in the description or close to the description. If you could hit the hype button for us, it would be much appreciated. And I'm sure BP would appreciate it as well. We got over 200 people in the chat, and we don't even have 100 likes. Let's get the likes up, boys. Let's get the likes up. As I said, I wasn't sure if I was going to do the show. BP had to pull out due to a family issue. And I was like, I don't really want to do the show without BP because it's not the same. But I saw a bunch of y'all in the chat before the show, and I said, you know what, fuck it. I'll do it myself. I didn't want to give BP, the pressure of trying to do it like tomorrow or Friday. And I didn't want to leave you guys without a show. So we're here. We're almost 2 hours in as well. I've been yapping for almost 2 hours straight, but I appreciate y'all for being in the chat. Hit the like button for me. Let's hop into this main event. In the middleweight division, we got Israel Adesanya coming in a minus 150 favorite, taking on Joe Body Cam off Pyfer. Sits at plus 130. Joe Pyfer 6-1 in the UFC. Only losses to Jack Hermanson, which was also the only main event that he has been scheduled for in the UFC. So in main event slots, he's 0-1. But he's coming in here against Izzy, who's been in a lot of main events, but recently has been losing. He's been losing to the best of the best. Nasruddin Imavov, Dricus Duplessis, and Sean Strickland. 3-fight losing streak, one by decision, one by sub, and one by KO. So I mean, what's left? What can Adesanya do on this losing streak that he hasn't done? Maybe go to a draw? Maybe. We almost saw one last week. Maybe that could be in the cards. Who knows? But 1-4 in his last 5. He had that fight with Pereira where he got KO'd in round 5. And then he had the KO against Alex Pereira in Miami 3 years ago, which to this day, I still feel like is one of the craziest moments I've witnessed when he knocked out Alex Pereira. I was in the building. I was up in the rafters. Literally, my back was up against the wall. I was that far up. My buddy next to me fell asleep because we were that far up. We could barely see anything, but you could feel the energy. You could feel the energy. Izzy got it done. He KO'd Alex Pereira. And I honestly think that might have been the last of Israel Adesanya. He was the champion for the longest time. And then he lost the belt to Pereira. And then the only thing he had left to do was to beat the guy that he had never beat in Alex Pereira. And he did it. And then we saw him fight Strickland. Looked so flat. Looked extremely flat. Lost 4 rounds to 1. Nearly got KO'd in round 1. And then he takes a year off and he fights Dricus du Plessis. And I put the biggest bet of my life on Dricus du Plessis. To this day, probably the greatest moment of my UFC betting career because I had so much on the line, not just the money, right? It was the biggest bet on UFC of my life. Technically the biggest bet of my life was Jake Paul against Mike Tyson, but UFC, it was Dricus du Plessis to beat Israel Adesanya as an underdog. I got him at like plus 105 because I was a believer in DDP. He never failed me. And I thought stylistically the matchup could favor DDP because he's a big physical guy he has the power on the feet to hurt you, and he's got the skills on the ground to finish you. And I also bet Dricus by sub there at plus 650. So I made a lot of money on that fight as one of the greatest moments of my career. And then after that, I didn't know how he was going to do against Imavov. But the fact that he got KO'd by Imavov, I think that's a bad look, man. It's a really bad look. Because then, this week, we all remember those outcomes. But then you go back this week, and I watched all those fights, and you can just see the decline. You can see it. He's not aggressive against Strickland. He looks flat. He looks slow. Strickland's just doing whatever he wants to him. In the DDP fight, I thought he came out with a lot more urgency. It looked like he wanted to be there, but if we remember the beef that he had between Dricus, like he was clearly motivated for that fight. And you could see it. There was a look of determination on the face of Adesanya. But what happened was he just didn't have it anymore, man. He just didn't have it. I mean, he's getting hit with shots by DDP, and we know DDP is aggressive, but it's so telegraphed and it's loopy and it's just not clean. He's getting worked by DDP. And don't get me wrong, he had some good work in that fight. Like he was ripping some body shots to DDP, hitting him with some good kicks, but that rear naked choke that DDP had on him, that was not locked in, boys. That was not locked in. I think he took the door. I mean, it wasn't even he wasn't even hiding the hand beyond the choke. It was just one grip. You got it's like this, one grip. And yeah, you can finish a rear naked choke like that, but in a championship fight, it was a bad look. And then you watch the Imavov fight, and he looks slow. He looks so slow. And he's gotten away with stuff for years, being the taller, longer guy with more kickboxing history. He's gotten away with the tall man defense, leaning back, putting his hands out. When he's backed up against the cage, he constantly squares up, and then he'll dip to one side, and then he'll try to exit. But at 36, it doesn't work anymore. It doesn't. Now, this is obviously a big step down in competition. going from Imavov, DDP, Strickland, these are guys that are championship level. Imavov hasn't shown it yet, but I think he is championship level. To go from that to Joe Pyfer, it's a big step down in competition because Joe Pyfer hasn't really proven it at that level. I would have loved to see Joe Pyfer fight or have a win over a guy like Cannonier, a win over even a Roman Dolidze, you know, guys that have fought in the top 10. Doesn't really have that. But stylistically, I think the like one mistake from Adesanya, the fight's over, man. The fight's over. On the feet, Pyfer's very fast. He's an explosive athlete who hits like a motherfucking truck. Very physical with his wrestling. I mean, he can pick you up and drop you down. And he's got a decent submission game as well. So I think it's dog or pass, boys. I think Joe Pyfer comes in here and gets the W. I could see a finish. But if I'm Israel Adesanya, I think you got to look to, I mean, your footwork's got to be on point, but you got to overwhelm him. You got to beat him up early. Because Pyfer at times can be a little bit low volume. And I think, you know, he could be susceptible to the kicks from Adesanya. So he's got to rip some hard body kicks. Maybe you rip a lot of head kicks as well to try to, you know, zap the energy in his arms. Maybe try to really hurt his arms with some head kicks. So he's got to block them, hit some really hard leg kicks. So he's maybe got a busted up leg. But if he doesn't do that, I mean, I don't see it going well for him. So, you know, I'm not all in on Joe Pyfer, but really when I'm looking at this fight, what I wanted to see in my research was give me a reason to believe Israel Adesanya is still there. Like, just give me a reason to believe that the Izzy that was champion is still there. And what I saw in his last few fights, I just don't think it's there, man. I just don't think it's there. I think Pyfer gets it done. Probably finish within the first few rounds. Kind of a ramble on the main event, but it's an interesting fight. I actually think it's really solid. Let's see what the chat thinks. Think Israel probably gets knocked out against Adesanya. Hype it up, fellas. Hype it up. I was at B-Dubs when Izzy knocked out Alex and the place went crazy. That was nuts, dude. It was crazy. All those fighters that you mentioned are way better than Pyfer. Yeah, I acknowledge that. I acknowledge that. Dug myself out of a hole with a DDP sub bet that night when chasing actually works. Yeah, unfortunately, it works sometimes. So then, you know, the next time you're chasing, you think it's going to work again, right? It's going to work. How much money did I put on that? I had 4,000 on DDP money line at plus 105. And then I had 800 on him to win by sub at plus 650. I think I made I cashed out like 13 grand that fight, which was sick. It was awesome. So flat, extremely flat. Okay, I'm going to save it with a solo. Big John McCarthy always says, if you stick around long enough, you always end up on someone else's highlight reel. That's Izzy and Pyfer. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, maybe he'll be less aggressive now that he found God. That is true. That is kind of a weird aspect, you know? Joe Pyfer came out and he's like, says he had a what did he call it? Realization or a visualization. Came to God, which is great. You know, I think that's a great thing. But as far as a fighter, I don't know. It can be weird, man. It can be weird because anytime you change mentality as a person, but then you go into a cage fight, it can maybe change how you fight. So that's another wrinkle that doesn't make me love Joe Pyfer this week. But who knows? You know, maybe he's not fully deep into it. So when he enters the cage, he can turn it off. But who knows? I mean, that's everyone against DDP, though. Is he literally never fought a legit wrestler, grappler? Exactly. That was part of my reasoning is why I wanted to take DDP by sub there, is because nobody that he was fighting ever had a submission threat. None of them. Not a single one. So that's why we took DDP by sub. And we cashed it. Plus 650. I like the feints against Imavov before. Dude, I don't even know. I got a full sleeve. Not a full sleeve. My inner part isn't put on, but the outside of my arms are both covered. Maybe a different day we can walk through it, but the camera is kind of small. So, is he takedown defense is underrated? It is pretty solid. BP is all good, guys. His stepdad was in a bad car accident, but he's going to be okay. BP has been at the hospital. Thanks for putting in the extra work tonight. Yeah, of course. Glad to hear that his stepdad is going to be okay. I didn't want to put it out there, but if you're relaying it, yeah, BP's stepdad got in a bad car accident. So not something you want to deal with ever having to go to the hospital to see one of your loved ones. Izzy's going to look massive in there, and Joe hasn't faced someone with that kind of height and reach advantage, especially someone who knows how to actually use it the way Izzy does. He might know how to use it, but I don't know if he can. I don't think Adesanya actually has an 80-inch wingspan. I think he does. I don't think it's crazy. Joe said it's a win-win for him. He gets to fight the GOAT middleweight. He's prepared to lose. I think a guy that has nothing to lose is pretty dangerous, man. Leg kicks and bicycle for Izzy, yeah. If he does go on his bike and just leg kick and run, like, yeah. I mean, I could see him walking away with it for sure. Okay. Good to know, Russ. Good to know. I don't think Israel actually has an 80. Okay, I went over that. Pyfer opened up as a fave. Is he being fave? Is all public love? Yeah, I mean, I understand why people would want to bet Izzy because it's like step down compared to step up. But personally, I think there's more to like on the Pyfer side, to be honest. All right. Now we'll go to the segments. I know BP isn't here to defend his empty the clip, his leg in the 3-punch parlay or the Sicko parlay, but I'll defend it for him. All right, I'll defend it for him. Let's get to it. Like it up. BP's empty the clip. Hopefully he's okay with me sharing these, by the way. I didn't even ask him, but I'm sure he'd be all right with it. He's 4-4 on the year. He's doing much better than me on the empty the clip. BP, let's see what you got. He's going with Chase Hooper. 3PC zone. Chase Hooper's the empty the clip for BP this week. If I was BP, here's what I would say. I mean, Chase Hooper's the guy with a lot more UFC experience. He's going to go in there and he's going to drag Lance Gibson into a grappling fight. He's going to get the back. It's going to be an easy sub. He's fighting on his home turf, going up against a guy that has beaten nobody. And Chase Hooper's been there, done that. Chase Hooper's going to get it done, empty the clip. That's my breakdown for BP. Now we'll go to my empty the clip. Now, as we said at the top of the show, I'm 2-6 on the year on the empty the clip. So you're probably going to want to fade this, but I'm sure you're not going to want to fade this when you see it. All right? Because it looks good to me. Kiesa by finish. It should be easy. -160, Kiesa by KO or sub. Don't matter which one it is. He's fighting a corpse. He's fighting a corpse. Get it done. Kiesa, it's your retirement fight. Go out there. Look for the finish. Why not? He's got elite rear naked chokes. Nico Price has no chin. Nico Price has no takedown defense. Kiesa should be able to finish this guy. Empty the fucking clip. Empty the clip on Kiesa. Let's move on. The 3-punch parlay. This week, last week, and the week prior, we had Fatima Klein giving us a leg. But this week, it's going to be the winner of the $1,000 giveaway from last week on UFC London that picked a perfect card. Silly Gilly Goose MMA Show is going to give us the third leg of the 3-punch parlay. BP's leg is going to be Israel Adesanya. So while I just went over the main event and shit on Israel Adesanya, BP gave me him. So he's in it. He's in the 3-punch parlay. I'm going with Macy Barber. -185. So our parlay is looking pretty juicy right now. And then, of course, on the third leg, Silly Gilly Goose is going with Marcin Tybura. Going with Marcin Tybura. Is that the correct odds? I'm going to have to double check that. I might have messed that up. Parlay odds calculator. Let's see what we got here. I feel like it might pay more than plus 561. Minus 140. Minus 185. And 115. 468 less. Plus 468. So not plus 561. I messed up. I didn't switch that. But plus 468 on the 3-punch parlay, Adesanya, Barber, and Tybura. So Silly Gilly Goose MMA Show is taking a dog in the 3-punch parlay. They went 13-0 last week. We'll see if we can get one to go through. Fatima Klein been picking the dogs for us the past couple of weeks, and it's been screwing our parlays. So we'll see if Silly Gilly Goose really knows what he's talking about, taking Tybura against the UFC debuter. There he is in the chat. Let's go. Hey, Jive, let's hit it. Let's hit it. Is anyone tailing? That's what we want to know. Is anyone tailing the 3-punch parlay? We're 2-6 on the year. How about we hit this plus 468 parlay? We're going to be looking pretty good. All right, we'll go to BP's Sicko parlay. BP's 1-7 on the year on the Sicko parlay, but up 14.28 units. Leg number 1. BP's going with Chase Hooper by sub, plus 210. He's the empty the clip. He threw him in there by sub. Leg number 2, Terrence McKinney, round 1. Of course, if you're going to take Terrence McKinney, you got to take him round 1, plus 110. And leg number 3, Michael Kiesa by sub. He got that at plus 1033. That's looking pretty good. I think that's looking pretty good. You know, if Chase wins and he wins, dominantly, he probably gets that sub. McKinney, if he wins, he's always winning in round 1. And Kiesa usually winning by sub as well. BP Sicko parlay is looking pretty decent. A little over 10-1, plus 1033. Anyone tailing BP's Sicko parlay? Let us know in the chat. And let's go to my Sicko parlay. As I went over at the beginning of the show, we hit the Sicko parlay last week. We went 3 decisions. We had Mason Jones decision, CLD decision, and Movsar Evloev decision. The decision king brought us home. Even when it looked dead, it looked as though maybe it wasn't going to be dead. If it went to a draw, then we would have lost. No, we would have lost. We would have lost, right? Yeah, we would have lost. When it was looking dead, we hit the first 2 legs, and then Movsar Evloev decision. We were looking dead. But the decision king brings us home. So what's it going to be this week? We're going to run it back. 3 decision legs. Why not? Leg number 1. Adrian Yanez. By decision, plus 360. Better shots on the feet. If you get taken down, that's cool. Get back up to your feet. Ricky Simone ain't got jiu-jitsu. He ain't got jiu-jitsu. You're going to get back up to his feet, punch him in the face, land the more damage. Damage over control. If that's how we score fights, Adrian Yanez is getting his hand raised by decision at plus 360. That's the toughest leg of the leg. Leg number 2, we're going to take Yusri Bulgari, Mansur Malik to go to decision. If you want to get a little bit juicier with it, you can toss in Yusri by decision, but I'm just going to take it to go to decision at plus 140. Plus 145. I don't think Mansur is going to want to push a pace in this fight. And I don't think Yusri is going to want to exchange hands with Mansur Malik. I don't think Yusri is going to want to overextend himself to give Mansur opportunities to level change on them. So I think it's going to be a bit of a chess match. Mansur is not a very aggressive fighter. We saw him stare at Cody Brundage for 2.5 rounds. I think this fight goes to decision. Plus 145. Second leg. Third leg to cap us off. Macy Barber by decision minus 108. That brings us to 20-1 plus 2075. 3-leg decision parlay to go back-to-back on the Sicko parlays. All right, we hit last week. We were at 12-1. Now we're at 20-1. I think we're looking pretty good. I think we can go back-to-back on the Sickos. We were doing a lot of finish parlays, but we've been getting a lot of decisions this year, and I think I found 3 fights that do go to decision. We're picking 2 winners in one of them. We're just taking 1 fight to go to decision in the other one. I like it. 20-1. Lock it in, boys. Lock it in. Yanez KO only way, bro. He could KO him, but Simone's pretty tough, man. Simone's pretty tough. Mansour gets slept with a head kick. Whew. I mean, if we lose by a head kick, so be it, man. So be it. Bro, do you stick to sports betting or do some casino blackjack too? Casinos are a no-no for me. The problem is, Yusuf, is I love playing blackjack at the casinos, but it's not a way to win money. You know, you can win money on one night. You can have a good run, but eventually it's not exactly a good way to sustain, an income, right? It has a 50% chance to hit. Hey, looks pretty good to me. I'll take 50% on a plus, on a 20-1. Decision lay looks good. Deft tailing. Let's go. Feel like Grasso can drop Barber. Maybe, bro. Maybe. I mean, maybe. Yeah, right. How is it plus 2075 has a 50% chance to hit? Trains at Killcliff and is 7-0. Will be in the UFC soon. 24 years old. Who are you talking about? Let me know who you're talking about, Shawnee. Talon, let's go. Lock it in. Just don't like Yanez. I mean, honestly, you could probably do. Yeah, I mean, if you don't like Yanez, just leave him out. Just leave him out. Maybe you go use-free decision instead of goes to decision. You tell my Sicko, let's go, bro. I'm going to tail it on Novig. Let's go, bro. Who's riding with us on the 3-punch parlay? Anybody riding with us on the 3-punch parlay? Let us know. All right, boys. That's going to do it for the show. Reminder, get your picks in on 3punchconvo.com. Head over there. There's a link down in the description below where you can type it into your browser. Make sure you follow them on IG as well, 3Punch Convo. Get your picks in. Whoever is up the most units on UFC Seattle will go head-to-head with either me or Big Gun next week or the week after, your UFC Apex card. And if you beat us head-to-head based on your picks for the UFC Apex card, you'll win $500. You can choose whether you want to go against me or Big Gun. It's up to you. Make sure you get your picks in and check out 3-Punch Combo. But that's going to do it for the show. Again, I apologize. BP's not here. We go send him, your support for BP. Give him some love. I'm sure he's stressing right now, but we got the show in, and we'll be back next week, most likely, for the BigJive MMA show. But appreciate y'all for joining. We went over 2 hours. I didn't expect it was going to be this long, but we went pretty long with just the chat. But appreciate y'all. Till next time, BigJive MMA show. We'll see you